All right, let's get to our first discussion now. For some days now, videos of women and men sleeping with animals have been circulating around the internet. One of the cases which caught the attention of Nigerian Police Force was that of a woman who allegedly slept with a dog for over ₦1 million. Section 214 of the Criminal Code Act states that anyone who has carnal knowledge of any person against the order of nature or has carnal knowledge of an animal is guilty of a felony and is liable to imprisonment for 14 years. Now, many Nigerians have reacted to this act, saying that there is a high level of moral decadence in the society and that the love for money has made many people indulge in unimaginable acts. All right, that's the crux of our discussion this morning. Joining me in the studio is lawyer, social development advocate, Olutumbosun Oshifowara. It's nice to have you join me this morning.
Always a pleasure.
Welcome. Great. Now, I know you would have seen the video that went viral where everyone's talking about it, and it seemed to be a backlash from an earlier notion of, okay, what's your business? I did what I had to do, and so on. And then when there was a backlash from the videos and, the progression and all of that, and then more of it went viral and people, started to the level where it attracted the police. But what do you make of that? Some people will call it, like we use the word moral decadence. Others will say, well, it's a free world in the 21st century. How do we balance this, though?
All right. It shows how low we've gone morally in this country. And most of these things also people have attributed to Western influence. And then also, like I said, the issue of freedom. But one of the things we have to make people realize is that freedom comes with its own responsibilities. You're only free to the extent that the law allows you to be free. You cannot do anything the way you want and anyhow you want it. There are laws regulating our lives and activities. And when you run foul of the law will definitely catch up with you and punish you. Even if you did the thing in your private capacity, there are instances where whatever you think you're doing in your own private space actually conflicts with the law, and the law will always prevail over such activities. If we go a little bit of history, you find that in as much as we said this is of Western orientation, the laws too are Western. I mean, way back, there was something called, when England 1533 Burglary Act, that was where they came up with these laws against unnatural ways of having sex. That's what the Burglary Act was under Area 8. That was when they started. Now, so basically, it has to do with laws. The laws came up to punish offenses that relate to unnatural ways of having sex. And under the laws back then, under the Burglary Act, you find that there were things from oral sex to bestiality, even homosexuality. Those are the things that, back then in England. And, with all the colonies of England back in the day,
exactly,
they just copied and pasted the laws. So that's how the law became part of our own laws. In fact, if you look under our laws, section 21 of the Criminal Code, you find it there. The heading is laws against morality. So we have a moral standard in this part of the world. Moral standards differ from one jurisdiction to another. Now, for all you care also, it's sad to say that England that came up with these laws have actually abolished them. But in this part of the world, in Nigeria, these laws still stand. These laws still form part of our existence. And they come with punishment. In fact, up to 14 years when you're caught in all these acts. Now, so if you think you could do anything, it's my body, I can sleep with a goat, I can sleep with a dog. If you're caught, the laws will be activated against such person, against such act, and the person will pay dearly for it. That's basically what it is. It offends our sensibility, it offends morality, and it offends the law. So basically that.
All right. Now, there's what they call zoophilia. which is like the desire, to see an animal in a certain kind of way that attracts you, in that way. Could there be a mental condition? Anyway, maybe a doctor would have.
I was actually going to go there.
Aha, very good.
I was actually going to go there.
If there's a circumstance like that, how does the law, handle, those kind of complexities where someone like a kleptomaniac, for instance, some things happen naturally with you where you don't have powers over, or maybe you don't have direct control over. How does the law?
All right, basically with criminal law, there are two dimensions to criminal law. The actual act which you have committed and also the intention to commit that act. The mental element, it comes in fact, you cannot have...
It's like a total package.
Yes, it's a total package. That's the twin leg on which every criminal law in every jurisdiction stands. The actual act and the mental, the mental angle to that thing. That's why you find that instances such as where you have murder and manslaughter, it's a question of, the mental act. Was it intentional? Was it an omission? Or was it a commission? Now, so coming to this one, if you have offenses, anytime an offense comes up, they look at the mental angle to it. Then they look at the mental capacity of the person involved, the culprit or the accused person. Now, if the person had a mental condition, it influences how the law will relate and react to that person. Now, but if that can be proven that this person has a medical condition or a mental condition that borders on that person wanting to have some intercourse with animal, then the law will also look in that direction and take care of the mental element first before actually coming out against the person and wielding the big hands of the law. So that's how it works.
No, okay, that's interesting. But let's come back home to, a lot of people will say these are moral issues, social moral issues more than the issue of the law. But of course, the law is there, and all of that. But when we talk about freedom in the context of a globalized world and all of that, one would say, of course, these things, like if you go on Twitter, a lot of comments, these things happen every day. It's not a big deal, and all of that is just the one that we get to hear about and so on. So when you hear that, you'd be like, okay, so what somebody will say, my God, what is this? It's like very, are you just coming on board, and stuff?
What we have to know is that laws don't stand in isolation of morality.
Okay.
In fact, laws emanate from the moral fiber of the society. Now, so when things that goes against morals, like I said, in fact, if you look at the Burglary Act, it says that laws against unnatural ways of... the Burglary Act basically says laws against God and humanity.
Wow.
That's what the Burglary Act of 1533, that's how it was couched, So, in as much as there is freedom, like I said earlier, freedom comes with its responsibility. You cannot say because there's freedom of speech. Even freedom of speech is to an extent. If you look at all the fundamental rights, there are exceptions to it. Fundamental rights, these are rights that are even fundamental to you. Okay, you have your life. You could get tired of life, but you can't go and kill yourself. Now, if you succeed in killing yourself, good luck to you. But if you attempt to kill yourself, there's
a crime.
There's a jail term for attempted suicide. You see all those people who try to jump off third mainland? If you're caught, they will first, take you into custody, check you medically, then you come face the law. Your life is, we're under the law. You're not to yourself. You're not by yourself. Fine, you came to this world. Even people brought you to this world. So you cannot just say, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to live my life. This is what is trending. This is 21st century.
Yeah, but isn't that the bane of part of what we face today, where people say, I'm young, we're young, it is the 21st century, or this is 2022, we can do anything we want to do. And people make reference to the good old days where, life was kind of communal. You have elders and sane, exactly. And then you have elders, there's the issue of respect, there's the issue of care, there's the issue of concern, where you live with people. You need to know, you certainly know who your neighbors are, you know, you check on them if you don't see them for, you know, but these days nobody does that.
It's unfortunate. You know, growing up, I mean, way back, any mother, once you see a kid or an adolescent get involved in something not too good or morally reprehensible, any mother will flog you. Any mother will scold you. Any father will. It was, like you said, it was a communal thing. But I think we grew to a level where we became conscious of our nuclear space. And then people felt, you know, people turned recluse. It's me, myself, and I, me, my family. Then we had instances where maybe out of desire for freedom or maintaining and capturing our own space, people felt, no, don't talk to my child, don't scold my child, let me run my own affairs the way I want to run it. Then we grew to a level where parents will go to school and challenge school authorities. That was where we started wearing and tearing down the moral fiber, the moral structure of the society. Teachers became afraid to scold students. You know, school authorities couldn't really come out. Then, you know, with modernization and, you know, all this globalization came this thing that, okay, I want to run my kids, I want to run my family the way I want it. So all those things started tearing down what we used to have. Now, at the end of the day, we have delved and degenerated into who we are not. We've moved from our culture. I mean, it's unheard of. Human beings and animals. I just started hearing that now. No. We never knew that when we were growing up. You know, so I mean, because that communal living, scolding, let me use that phrase, we toed it down. Then it became a free-for-all. It became a free-fall. And students, I mean, children started acting waywardly. Then also we have an imagined parent or an imagined set of parents who don't have any recourse to morality in their outlook. So at the end of the day, the offspring of such people will definitely not turn out well. Then also you see this quest for money. There was some lady who came on board and she went on like, if I slept with a dog, have you seen 1.7 million before this, that. And at the end of the day, you find that, you know, everybody just, now you make money and people don't care how you make it. Once you just come out and display wealth, everybody wants, then you see things like ritual killing, you see. So we're degenerating into who we're not and what we're not.
So, but in that degeneration that you have painted a picture of, you know, which depicts the reality of what we are right now, there are supposed to be institutions that act as a moral compass, guiding us towards how we should maintain our morality. We know the religious organizations are there, the traditional institutions are there, although the families are becoming too busy, you know, to be there and you know, to start up with, you know, equipping the young ones into. But
unfortunately, these institutions too have been bastardized. Some have been whittled down, you know, and these institutions too are dancing to the modern modernity style of, you know, modern style of doing things.
Or maybe being westernized.
Because you have people, I mean, gone are the days where you have traditional rulers where people fear, people revert. But now you see people come down from those exalted positions and they mix with mere mortals. And it's not supposed to be.
All right. Joining me now is Wemimo Adebi, counselor, cognitive behavior therapist. We were expecting her all the while. Wemimo, good morning. Good to see you.
Good to be here.
It was the traffic, I guess, that held you back.
Sort of.
But it's good to see you now, though. Now, we don't have all the time, but let's dig in. This viral video of a lady who was talking about sleeping with a dog and all of that has caught the attention of the authorities. And from the last time we checked, they were, you know, looking out for her, you know. But the issue there is, let's come back to he has touched the legal part of things as to what the law says and all of that. If she's found guilty, if the police find her and she's subjected to the process of things and she's found guilty, she can be liable to maybe up to about 14 years, based on what the law has said. But let's leave the law that he has touched. Let's talk about the issue of morality. Let's talk about the issue of counseling and behavioral, and all of that. Now, from that perspective, what kind of help? Because, mind you, away from that, the backlash that the lady has received, in fact, you could see here she had lost her, her friend and all of that. What do you make of that? What kind of counseling will she require at the time?
Okay, for such a lady, because we have a lot of them like that. She's just a little
Remember I told you here.
happening.
Before she came, I said, hey.
And I like to say that these things are not new. So there's actually nothing new under the sun. It's just because we have a platform for people to get to see it as soon as it happens. So I'll say that this is an individual who is just a victim of abuse. Because when a child...
Victim of abuse?
Let me be specific, sexual abuse. Because when an individual, becomes a victim at, one time, and he or she doesn't speak up and doesn't get help, so it will not end there. And usually we say abuse thrives in secrecy. Now, because, let me try and evaluate her before meeting her, okay? Because this individual was exposed to abuse, there was a distortion in her behavior, because there's always a link between abuse and substance use and all manners of sexual perversion and sexual distortions before it becomes the quest for money. Because whoever was abused would definitely think this is the way. When he or she did not get help, as at the time she was supposed to get help. So there's something in psychology we call coping skill. You have it in the negative, you have it in the positive. So she may likely have turned the abuse, the trauma, into a positive, as it were, coping skill to make money.
So in the process of counseling her, there are a lot of things that has to be looked into.
Yes, and from the picture and the video of what I saw, this is an individual suffering also from post-traumatic stress disorder, because you couldn't have come on air to brag about what you did, and then the next minute you are crying for help. So there's an imbalance of emotion, regardless of whatever money she claimed to make from it. So we need to look at things from a different perspective. Now the question is, whose fault? Home. So by the time you look at it, she must have been a victim of a dysfunctional home, maybe a separated parent, or maybe she doesn't even have a family. And then the next thing is, I'm on the street, I want to hustle. So the only way to hustle is to put my life,
that's what they always say now, hustle, let's hustle.
Is to put my life at risk. And there is the place of lack of knowledge. Because merely exposing yourself without protection with a human being, you have a lot to lose, let alone animals whose makeup is not compatible with human life. So that's
because animals, apart from some domestic whatever, a lot of them are not vaccinated against. You don't even go there. You don't even imagine a lot of things. But let's talk about. There's also the twist too. From if we deduce from all of the story, somebody did the payment because she claimed to have made 1.7 million. Somebody paid for that to be done. In the eyes of the law, what kind of crime have they committed? The persons, because we're not hearing the names or the faces or the person who is behind the act in the first place.
Yes,
somebody owns the dog.
By law, those people are accomplices.
Okay,
and they will be charged along. It's not just the only person that is, or the only being that is innocent or won't face the wrath of the law is the dog.
Is the dog.
Yes. But the person who set up the whole agenda, then the lady in question, and sometimes also the people who own the space where such nefarious activities are taking place. Right. Those people also will be charged along. So those are accomplices, and they too are culpable in the whole saga.
Yeah, but in a situation where maybe it is a hotel and anybody can pay for a room, and whatever you do,
and then you bring a dog
in a situation. Well, no, anybody could go on a holiday with a dog. Anyway,
it doesn't work like that in this climate, because I'm not aware of hotels here where there are hotels abroad where you actually put your dog somewhere. They have a head, you know. But here, coming into a hotel and then working into any 5, 2, 3-star hotel with a dog, going into the room with you, there's that
you raise a flag
that something is wrong somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, let's talk about the, before you came, we were talking about the issue of morality and all of that. Now, where families have become so busy, and if you check the trend, if I look at the clock right now, the clockometer right now, people are going to get busier.
Yes.
Because the realities of the society, economy, politics, they are dawning on human beings, and people are devising, new ways of survival, new ways of expansion, and all of that. Some people are prospering, others are, those things are dawning on. So it means that families are going to be even more busy as we get along, get busier as we get along, and those are the realities. So how do families begin to handle and balance this reality between I am so busy, but yet I need to care for the family?
Okay.
Especially these young children coming up.
Like you have said, I like to say that it's not a must for an individual to have a child.
Okay.
Yes, it's not a must, because
Bosu just smiled. That smile is not just
You always have a punchline.
it's not a must, because we have accidental parents who never planned for it. So you were not prepared for the parenting world. So if an individual wants to come together, or you've chosen as a person that I want to be responsible for a life, then you must get educated concerning all that has to do with parenting. Because parenting is the bedrock, and then you can see from all we have in the society today. Now, I like to say that, okay, now you're a parent, you have a child around you. You need to separate a particular time where you know that, okay, I need to monitor things. Now, you can't monitor what you are not informed about. So the internet is actually a major area, a major world for children. So as a parent, you must be in that world. You must know what exactly is happening. Now, I would be shocked if there's a parent watching or listening right now who has not sat his or her child down and educate him or her about bestiality. Because these are strange words, but these are things going on.
But these are conversations a lot of parents don't get to. Especially when it comes to sex and that sex education.
We
and all
just
of that,
have to wake up to the reality. If you don't teach them in the proper way, they'll learn it the other way. And the truth is, children actually know about these things, but they are not aware of the consequences, and they don't know the red flags. So they are aware because they have a world. They have, a community where they are connected and all of these things. And parents need to come to terms with it. Drug, sex, and money are the major things happening in the children's world. So you have to know what you're doing when you have a child.
So it means parents need to have an idea of what social media is.
Yeah, it's not for chatting or gisting.
So you can monitor the children.
Yes.
And in the situation where the parent has become, I'm there so I can monitor the children, then eventually it gets carried away.
If I could add,
yes.
I have a 10-year-old daughter. When the whole the child the other thing that happened 2 weeks ago, the little girl that was having sex with her mate, my wife was trying to shield it from her. So I called her aside. I was like, "Do you know this thing?" She said, "I know. I followed it. The girl did bad things. She explained everything to me. I called the mother. Please, let's sit down and discuss this thing.
Exactly.
You think they don't know? They know. She was more informed. She was. And she didn't pretend. She just stayed off.
Yeah.
That you people don't want to talk to me, I'll watch you. So from there, every day, even this one, we sat down with, madam, see, this thing is not good. This thing, from God's angle to the law to everything.
Yeah.
I think, like what Mimo said, parents need to really get down with kids. They know what we don't know. In fact, they know more than we do. So the earlier you bring them into this conversation, the better it is. And show them this is how God wants it, this is how the law works, and this is how the society works, and this is what is expected of you. Then pray.
Oh yeah,
the final
yeah.
part.
That's a very strong one. Now the point is, in this education,
Yeah.
sex education, and all of that is really very critical.
Yeah.
And how should parents begin to kickstart that conversation? Because sometimes it can be very awkward. Yeah, you know,
Actually,
yeah,
it's
you
always
know,
a
yeah,
general
yeah. But the
question.
issue there is that is the reality of it,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And okay, yeah, fine. So
We have
where do we start that?
age-appropriate languages
Okay.
for children, okay, depending on the age group your child is at the moment, okay. So there's a place of having to talk about children. You don't put fear in them. You don't let them feel it's a bad thing, because that's where, you know, the secrecy comes
Okay,
in.
okay.
You let them know, okay, that your body is segmented into 3 parts, okay, which some you can allow people to share, some you don't allow them to, I mean, some you can share with people, some you don't share. However, every part of your body is your own, is special, is yours. Then children are naturally curious. Your child is going to ask you a question. The question the child asks will tell you how far your child knows.
The level of
and
understanding
then,
they have.
You know, so then if you feel you cannot do it, you could contract it to a counselor, okay, a child counselor, or you know, someone who will always be available to help you. And you won't abandon your child in the hand of the individual. It has to be a collective thing. You, the counselor, and your child.
Right.
With that, you are raising a sexually safe child
Right.
in this world.
Okay, that's we have to leave it there now. Wabimade Adibi, thank you so much for coming on the program.
for having
Thank you.
me. Yeah.
And Olutoponso Shufawara, thank you so much for coming.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Right. Remember, she always drops the punchline.
Always, always. Today's punchline.
Yeah, is
You don't have to have a child.
You don't have to have a child. Well, parents out there will be like, what did she say? What did she say? But it's all right. It's one of those things. You need to understand the context to which that is made.